Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, or good evening, wherever you are around the world. Welcome back to Lead Judges TV. As ever, I'm your host, Dan Potts. We're here for another episode of the Arsenal Team Talk, and of course, that means I'm not with Lead Judges. I'm with my main man, Graham Brooks. Graham, how are you, mate?
Really good, mate. Looking forward to this weekend. We were talking before we came on air this morning. This is going to be an absolutely massive weekend, not just
Huge.
for Arsenal, but in this top four race, because this could be pivotal, I think, this weekend with Spurs going to Liverpool tonight and us playing Leeds tomorrow. If Spurs were to lose at Liverpool tonight and we could get over the line against Leeds tomorrow, we could go into that North London derby next week with a 5-point cushion. But I'm not taking anything for granted. Dan, we've been talking about this fixture. It's a potential banana skin against Leeds, isn't it? So let's not take anything for granted and let's get our own business done this weekend. And I'm looking forward to coming on here today and breaking the game down with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get into the Arsenal Leeds situation, I wanted to get your thoughts on Mikel Arteta's new contract that was announced yesterday till 2025. Some really happy fans, Graham, some questioning it, some not so convinced. Just want to get your thoughts on where you stand on the situation, mate.
I must admit, it was a surprise to me. I didn't see it coming at this start of the season, but I can understand why they've done it, Dan. I think they've done it for two reasons. One is to actually um, take the speculation out of his position and also to ward off potential other suitors. If he was to achieve Champions League football at Arsenal, you couldn't sort of like say that it might not attract interest from other clubs if they lose managers or they want to see him as their future. So I think what Arsenal have done is they've nailed him down really on a contract, which means if any other club comes in for him, they are approaching a manager under contract. It does protect the club. That's one thing I think they've done it. Secondly, I think that although he said, and he was quite emotional about it in his press conference, it had been done after the Southampton result when we were not where we are now, in effect, on the back of three good wins. I think that they've done it really because in their eyes, he's well, they've said it, haven't they? He's brought the fan base together this season. We've achieved our target, which was European football, and I think that's the two reasons why they've done it. Doesn't mean I say because he's under contract that he can't be sacked. So let's get it right. You can't ever see this ownership wanting to sack him the way they sort of like worship him, it seems. But for people who are saying, and I thought we could have waited to the end of the season, but I can understand why they've done it. It doesn't mean to say that any manager is safe with a contract. So that's my way of looking at it. But it does seem to me as though they really like this guy. They upgraded him from coach to manager, gave him full power, and he's been rewarded, I think, for, let's face it, he has got the team playing good football this season. I know we struggled to see a style early in the season, but I think there is a definite style now. And the fans are on board. So I think they rewarded him, I think, for what he's, although he hasn't got us in the Champions League yet, he has achieved European qualification. He's united the fan base and he's got us playing a decent style of football. And I think they see as the club now going in the right direction.
Yeah, I think you're right in your thoughts there, Graham, about why he signed that contract or why they've handed him that contract. My concern is that we haven't done anything yet, and we're giving somebody a contract a little bit early, and I worry that perhaps we've jumped the gun. Of course, I hope that we get top four and that we're in the Champions League next season, but we're singing songs about it. We're giving a new contract to the guy. If we get fifth, we're going to look silly and be Banter FC again. So that is, of course, my concerns and my worries. And I've not been 100% convinced by Mikel Arteta that he's the right guy to take us to a title. Some would say that he is, and that he's the guy that's going to be the next, George Graham or the next Arsene Wenger. I have my concerns. I don't think we can compare him to those greats yet. I do think there's a long way for him to go. I also have a little bit of concern. But I do have some positives, believe it or not. And I have been fair, I think, in my criticisms, but I've also been fair when I've given him credit, because I do believe there's a lot that he has done that's good off the pitch. I think he has definitely brought a connect back to the fans and the players. I think there's definitely some positives there. I do enjoy what I've seen in terms of the recruitment. I think he's got a couple wrong, but certainly got a lot right. I do think the players are playing for him. I don't think there's anybody at Arsenal at the moment who are down tools like they did on Emery. I think all of them have definitely got on board with what Mikel Arteta's trying to do. So there are some positives 100%. And I think no matter how you look at it, when you're giving a manager a new contract, Graham, you have to look at the person who's given him that contract, not the manager. And that's why I'm not going to be pointing at the manager for this decision, because it's not him who's given himself a new contract. I'm looking at the Cronkies, I'm looking at the board, and they believe that this guy's right. And if they believe this guy's right, they have to ensure that they have to be a little bit more ruthless next season with what he's going to be achieving. Because if we do get Champions League, next season I want to be pushing on, Graham. I don't want to be just getting in and around 5th, 6th and 4th again. I want to be going forward. And I think with summer recruitment, we can do that. So the good thing, I suppose, to look at it this way, the positives are he's been given this new contract, which I believe means that Cronkies and the board are going to back him in the summer with a transfer kitty. I think it's clear in January that we cleared out more of the dead wood, and I still think we've got some dead wood to clear out this summer. And I do think, and I said this to James on AFTV, and a few people said it was a bit over the top, I think we need another 6 to 8 players in the summer. I'm not even joking. We got it right in the summer last year. We didn't do anything in January to recruit. So now what I think needs to happen is we need 6 to 8 players to compete not just with 4th place Tottenham and Man United, but with Liverpool and City. And I'm not saying we're going to win the title next season, but I don't want to be 20 points behind them next season, Graham. I want to be in touching distance of a few games. And I know that people might think that's unrealistic. But when you're spending another 200 million, which is the rumour we're going to be given, I think if you get that recruitment right and you get the right fullbacks in at the club, you get the right midfield, you get your strikers sorted, I don't see why we can't push on and try to at least get close to Liverpool and Manchester City. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that in terms of the near future in the next couple of years of Mikel Arteta and what you think we should be aiming for.
Well, first of all, can I just say that you make a lot of really good points there, but I don't think the club are looking at it in quite the same way as you are, Dan.
Oh no, trust me, I agree with that.
So when you say that basically he hasn't even achieved Champions League football this year yet, but give him a contract, I don't think that came into their thinking. I think the thing is they feel as though the project is the project, and the project, I know people don't like that word, but they see it as a project, is ahead of schedule. They see Champions League football was European football was the target for this year. So I think that the fact that all those factors I've talked about, the fact that the team is building, the fact that he's sort of re-energized the relationship between the fans and the players, and the way the club's going, the direction the club's going, is good enough for them. And I think that Champions League football, if we get it, is almost like above schedule. Is something that they didn't probably envisage this season. But obviously, if we get it, and then you've got to start building on that. I think in answer to your question, it depends how the rest of the season plays out. And I'll come on to the 2-year bit in a minute that you talked about. I think that if we get Champions League, which we are favourites for at the moment, that will then commit their strategy would have to, wherever their strategy was, would have to be around that Champions League now, the fact that we're in the Champions League. And we really do need to have serious upgrades in a lot of areas of the squad. And obviously, as you said, I think you're right. 5 or 6 players are needed in the summer. I've only heard they're interested in 2 or 3. But to play, we've been sort of like this season competing on virtually one front since January. And the unity in the squad that comes from that has almost like been the weakness when players get injured. And it's amazing that it's almost like these junior players or backup players like who are carrying us towards Champions League qualification. We finished the game against West Ham, for example, with Cedric, Tavares, Holding, El Neni and Eddie on the pitch. And if we're going to be serious about wanting to compete in the Champions League, 3 or 4 of those, possibly all of them, you wouldn't want to see in the team next season if we're going to be in Champions League. So I think it does, how this season pans out. If we get the Champions League, obviously they've got to seriously look at who they're going to recruit and improve the team. If we get Europa League, you're not going to have the same options open to you, because Champions League does open up the window to players who want to play in Champions League. And that gives us a great chance of recruiting better players. But if we get Europa League, he's still going to want to, I think, I agree with you, at least 5 or 6, possibly 7 players, because the squad is very thin. And we're going to be offloading more players in the summer, but I think the plan for the next 2 years really should be, I can remember Willian coming in and saying when he joined Arsenal that Arteta wanted to compete for the league and then the Champions League within 3 years, and that's why he joined. So I think that the goal really should be to put Arsenal back competing for the top trophies within the next 2 years. If we get the Champions League, we get the recruitment done, then we should be really fighting for the top prizes. We're a long way behind Man City and Liverpool, but if we get the right players in, there's no reason why we can't compete. And the next start of that process in the next 2 years, I think, has got to be towards trying to regularly sort of like stay in the Champions League places and compete for a title within 2 or 3 years. I think that should be the goal of the club, whether that's realistic or not. That should be the goal because Arsenal is a big club, and it's not good enough when you're finishing 8th 2 years running and 6th as we were in the previous year before that. We've got to be back up there competing for the top prizes. So that should be his goal, and I think that's what the club wants, and I think that's what he wants. I think he'll say that. So, it's important, really, the end of this season that we don't fall apart now, and we get this Champions League qualification done. But for the next 2 years, I think we've got to be competing seriously for the top prizes.
Yeah,
when I say the top prizes, Dan, I'll just say obviously we're a long way short of maybe competing for the Champions League. We've been in the Champions League for 20 years, and apart from the 2002 to 2005 era, we've never seriously looked like getting beyond the round of 16. But what I'm saying, we should be regularly dining at the top table with the top clubs in the Champions League.
Yeah, and I agree with that, Graham. And some may call me crazy for saying this. There's people in the chat saying you and I are deluded that we think we're going to be competing with the top prizes anyway. People are quite realistic about the fact that they've accepted that the next few years we're not going to be doing that. And that's why I didn't want this process, because I didn't want to wait any longer. I've already been waiting 18 years. But actually, I do think where I slightly disagree, Graham, is I think probably Champions League, we've probably got a chance of winning that before the Premier League, just for the pure fact that I've seen some terrible teams win the Champions League over the years. I remember when Chelsea won it in 2012, they come 8th that year. I remember when Liverpool won it in 2005, I think they come 6th that year. I remember Porto winning it in 2004. And I've seen some horrendously bad teams beat some great teams. I looked at Villarreal this season getting to a semi-final under Emery. I look at some of the shocks, I suppose, that have happened. Even the other night, I thought Man City were walking through it. Real Madrid come and turn it on their head. So I think that with a Champions League, because it's a knockout competition, Arsenal probably got more chance of winning that than the league.
I don't think. I think the point you make is a good one. I don't think the best team in Europe always wins the Champions League. If you look at the Champions League this season, and you are right that of all the Abramovich spent billions on Chelsea over the years, and probably one of his weakest teams won the Champions League. So it just shows you that he had better teams that didn't win the Champions League. The Arsenal team, the invincible team for 2 or 3 years, was, in my opinion, the best team in Europe, but we didn't win the Champions League. So
there we go.
And that's the thing of tournament football. If you look at this year's Champions League, Dan, Liverpool got to the final by beating Milan, who was second in Italy, Benfica and Ajax. And Villarreal, haven't they? So where's Real Madrid? Well, no, I'll go. Just going back to that, the way Liverpool got through. I was trying to think. They beat Milan, then they beat. Was it Ajax? I think it was Ajax. And then it's Villarreal. So they've beaten teams. One's third in Italy, one's in the top 5 in Spain. And obviously, I think it was Ajax. I'm just trying to think it was Ajax or Benfica now. I've lost my track of thought. But the point I'm trying to make here is that they got to a final without beating European pedigree team. Whereas if you look at Real Madrid, they've literally beaten PSG, Chelsea and Man City. They've beaten the champions of England. They've beaten the Champions League holders, and they've beaten the champions of France to get to a final. Yet, in my eyes, Liverpool will probably win that final. I believe so. So it is about tournament football. We don't have to be the best team in Europe. So probably you're right. We have got a great chance of winning it if we could get. And tournament football is all about the right draw. If you get the right draw, you get the luck. It's not just about being a top team. You have to have certain things go your way to win the Champions League, and that's why, like you talk about Porto, they won it the year when a lot of the top teams went out. So I know they beat Man United. Mourinho beat Man United, didn't I think, in one of those.
Running down the touchline, wasn't he? Do you remember?
Yeah. So it's not as if they didn't beat a top European side at the time, but I do think you need a lot of luck to win the Champions League. Whereas a league season is you've got to be the best in the league to win the league. So I take your point. So we probably have got more of a chance in that, but judge on our history over recent years, we haven't been good enough, even when we've been in it, to get past the round of 16. We've always seemed to come up against Bayern Munich and Barcelona in their prime, so there was genuine mitigation for that, of course. But so I think that the idea really is at the moment we should be looking to get back in that Champions League, and competing at that level. I think that's the aim of the club.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Graham. Big up Troops, by the way. Hope you're well, bro. I haven't seen you for a long time. I hope you keeping well, bro. And he's agreeing. He says consistency to win the league. No, but we'd have to get lucky draws in the Champions League. I hope you're well, Troops. Good to hear from you, man. And cheers for watching.
And Dan, can I just congratulate him on his getting married recently, and on the success that he's having in America. He's of all the guys I've met through AFTV, he's one of the nicest guys. He was really nice to my son as well. So a lovely guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I second that, echo that, and hope he's well. And congratulations as well, Troops. We've been talking about the future. But listen, I have to say, Graham, we can't look too far because we've got 4 massive games coming up, and it starts this weekend, Graham. Thoughts going into this one before we bring up team news and start talking about Leeds and talking about Arsenal. Thoughts about this game, Graham, against Leeds?
Well, it's a game that you think we win, wouldn't you? I do sort of like edge on the side of caution, because when you think about it, over the last 6 games, we've literally lost to Crystal Palace, Southampton and Brighton, and then suddenly beat Chelsea, West Ham and Man United. So it just shows how you can't take anything in this league for granted. Leeds have got a terrible record in the league in the terms of they've conceded, I think, a league high amount of goals, and over 70 goals. They're massively vulnerable at set pieces. They had to change their manager mid-season, Bielsa, who was a great manager, but really wielded to his principles of man marking, which meant the team were vulnerable to conceding goals. They've now gone for Jesse March, who's basically changed the way they play. They've gone from man marking more to almost like a pragmatic. He plays almost like a 4-2-2-2 at times when they're playing. They're a more narrow sort of side, and more. He's got them more organised, more defensively solid. So I think their recent results, although they've sort of not scored in 5 of their last 8 games, they have in the last 5 they've won 2. So and last week against Man City, I thought for a lot of that game, reverting to a back 5, which I think we're going to talk about. I think they might go with a back 5 against Arsenal tomorrow. They looked incredibly solid. They only conceded from a set play, and apart from that, they were in the game throughout. Man City only had 5 shots on target in that game, and they scored with 4 of them. So that's how lethal and clinical they were. But for all that, I thought Leeds competed in the game. It's not going to be no easy game tomorrow. Leeds are fighting for their lives. If you look at their last 4 fixtures, they are literally down there in the relegation zone. As much as we're going for a Champions League place, their whole Premier League future is up in the air. They've got some difficult games left. I still think they've got to play Chelsea. I think that the other 2 they've got Brighton and Brentford. They'll be possibly the games they're targeting for points. But I think what they'll do tomorrow is they're going to come and they're going to, I think, be more solid and sit deeper and play in a low block. And they're going to be harder tomorrow to break down. So it's a sort of game where, you think that we've got better players in every position across the pitch. But I've seen teams with lesser players than us come to the Emirates this season, like Burnley and Norwich, and get a draw and a narrow defeat. So I'm not taking anything for granted. It is a potential banana skin. I do think the players need to be on their game. I do think we need a fast start tomorrow. And I think we do need, the fans to be right on board with the team from the off. And I think we need to sort of like, push them back early and start gaining territory, and sort of like be on the front foot tomorrow, and no sort of like I don't want to see a performance like I saw against Brighton, for example, where we were just not at it, and I think I think this game, as I say, it's one that you'd expect to win, but I'm not taking anything for granted.
Yeah, 100%. To be fair to Troops, he's on the same wavelength as me as ever, man. Do you remember PTSD from '99, Graham, and 2003 Leeds? Like, Jesus Christ, I don't even want to be reminded about that.
Do you remember just coming back to Troops' point there, 2003, I think, was the last time they beat us. I think we were going for the league title that year, and I think it was the Duke who got a couple, and I think Harry Kill, they beat us 3-2 at Highbury. I was at that game. So, but they had a really good team. They had a really good team then, didn't they? So, but they are right. They have come and sport the party before. So, with better teams, albeit. But it's a game, as I say, it is a potential banana skin. So, we just need to make sure that we're at it tomorrow. And whatever way Leeds set up, we're just going to have to find a way to break them down, I think. I don't think there's a lot of goals in this Leeds team, apart from Rafinha, who we're going to talk about, I know. But I do think that they could be very solid tomorrow and difficult to break down in a low block.
Yeah, I'm absolutely 100% with you. I think it is going to be a more difficult game that people are giving Leeds credit for, I should say. Let's bring up the teams, Graham. I want to get your thoughts on this one because for me, I think it's going to be quite interesting to see how Leeds are going to set up. So before we come to Arsenal, let's look at Leeds team. If you can talk me through that one, because I think we're looking like it's going to be similar to how they set up against Man City, Graham.
Yeah, I think that obviously they've lost Stuart Dallas. He's out, I think, for the rest of the seasons. But on the flip side, Cooper, the Scottish centre back, is likely to be available, according to Jesse March at his press conference. I think, as I say, last week in a back five, they look really solid. So I think Koch, Cooper, and Struijk will be almost like a back three on that, centre back sort of back three. And then you've got Ayling and Firpo. I think the advantage of that is, I think that Firpo is almost like the Leeds' Nuno Tavares. You know, he's really good going forward, but he's got mistakes in him defensively. And so if you play him higher up the pitch, or he's got cover on that side from, say, Struijk, he's not so susceptible either in transition or when they're defending. So, and I think Klich and Phillips are like the two centre mids. Ayling, who could have a really good battle tomorrow with Smith Rowe or Martinelli, whoever plays on that side. It's good going forward. I think he scored in a recent game. So I think they're set up in that way with Rafinha on the right, and that could be a worry for me. Rafinha against Nuno Tavares on that side. That might influence Arteta's thinking, in that he might think Martinelli is probably more disciplined defensively than Smith Rowe. So he might go with Martinelli to sort of help defensively. But Rafinha, something like 10 goals and 3 assists in 31 appearances for Leeds, will obviously be their main weapon. I think in recent games I've watched Leeds, Rafinha has come sort of more narrow into almost like the number 10 position. I think they're going to want him to play out wide tomorrow to get into that space vacated when Tavares goes high. Rodrigo, obviously Bamford's on the bench. I suspect that Bamford's very close to coming back. I think they're saying it's probably a game too soon for him to come back. Rodrigo will play up front, Harrison on the left-hand side. So that I think what they'll do is they'll defend in a 5. So Ayling and Firpo will drop back. And what Arsenal will want to stretch the pitch to use the wide areas tomorrow. Saka on the right and Smith Rowe and Martinelli on the left. So Leeds will want to cover the pitch. And I think it does it if they play the 5. It also congests the half spaces in that formation, which means that if Arsenal do look to play Smith Rowe and Odegaard in the half spaces, Leeds have got sort of good defensive cover there, and that I think will be the way they'll try to set up, and I think they'll try to frustrate Arsenal. Arsenal's team tomorrow, I suspect that Benjamin White will play. I know they're assessing him today. It's crucial he does play, because last week against West Ham, one of the problems we had passing from deep with no White and no Partey, we haven't got the good passers who can pass it through the lines to Odegaard or in our build-up play. Holding was brilliant defensively last week, but he's no match for Benjamin White on the ball. So it is crucial that White comes back. I think they'll want to play him if he's available, hoping he will play. So you've got like White and Gabriel, your two centre-backs. I think Nuno obviously will be the one looking to push up high, which I'll explain in a minute. Tomiyasu on the right-hand side will be more inverted in a 3 when Arsenal attack on the ball. The key really is, as always, Martin Odegaard. I think Leeds will be very aware of that. And also, Odegaard's role in the team tomorrow will be to press up high, because we have pressed against Leeds team with a lot of success in the last 2 fixtures, when we scored 4 goals in both fixtures in the last 2 league games. And I think the key for Arsenal really is to get the ball forward quickly through the lines to Odegaard and Smith Rowe. And if you show it on the board now, I'm expecting Smith Rowe to drift into that left half space. So where we got him there, he will be drifting in there, looking to take advantage in that little pocket of space there. And when he does that, will be Nuno's chance then to come up wide and high. And he'll be looking to exploit on the outside. Obviously, what we'll be hoping to see him this time was Smith Rowe inside, Tavares looking to get some crosses in from out wide left. Granit Xhaka, when he does go high, obviously fills in on that left-hand side. That'd be Xhaka's job really to move across there. And then you've got like Tomiyasu coming back on the Gabriel shifting across there, White shifting across, and Tomiyasu shifting across. So, and then we'll have sort of like El Neni slightly further forward. And I think what Arsenal will try and do is get those 5 lanes again that we've always talked about. So Nketiah up high. You've got Tavares up high there. You move Nketiah into the middle there up high. And then you've got Odegaard moving up between Phillips and Struijk. And then you've got Saka trying to stretch the touchline on that side. So what we'll see, I think, in this game is there's Arsenal's 5 lanes of attack with a 3-2-5 in build-up. The 3 defenders with Xhaka and El Neni holding their positions in the pivot. And I think you'll find then the battle will be those 5 Leeds defenders against the Arsenal 5 up high. Who can get the space? And what you want really from the Arsenal players is on the ball is sort of like try and drag in Leeds players out of position to create that bit of space. And then we need to get players into the box for crosses. But I think that's where the key is going to be. I think they're going to defend in a 5 against our 5 up high down. And it'll be an interesting battle tomorrow. I think if we get an early goal, that changes the whole complexion of the game. It does mean Leeds have to maybe change shape and come out more. But I think the longer it goes at 55, 60 minutes, if we don't score, then, of course, the pressure, then Leeds will be trying to hit us on the counter-attack and use Rafinha, I think, in that wide area. And then you've got the danger of Rafinha and Tavares. That is, I think, a key battle. As much as I think Saka against Firpo will be a key battle, I think for them, they'll be wanting to, they will target Tavares' side. I think last week, David Moyes did a really good job the way he targeted Tavares' side, the way West Ham were exploiting that side, our left side with their right fullback high, Kufal. I think that Leeds will be obviously looking at that Tavares side as much as we'll be looking at their left side as well and trying to get Saka on the ball. What we've not been doing really well, Dan, over the last few weeks, we haven't been getting the ball to Saka quick enough to get him one-on-one with his fullback. And so that's why I think it's crucial that Arsenal play through the lines quickly. The passing's got to be more crisp, more assured than it was last week against West Ham, and get the ball quicker to Saka to get him in the game. Obviously we won't have those with Tomiyasu more an inverted fullback, not up high, supporting Odegaard and Saka on the right side so much. So you could argue that Arsenal will probably be targeting the left-hand side, our left-hand side, their right side more. I still think Saka is our best player. We've got to get the ball to him, get him in positions where he can be running at their fullback, and then try and drag one of their centre-halves across to create some space in the middle to maybe Eddie or somebody arriving late in the box to exploit. But yeah, it should be an interesting matchup tomorrow. I'm expecting Leeds to play a low block, to be honest, and it's up to us, I think, to break them down.
Yeah, it is up to us to break us down. And KG came on Thursday night and did a preview with us, a Leeds fan, and he said, listen, Nuno Tavares, yeah, it might be fun for Rafinha, but trust me, Saka will have a field day against Firpo because he has definitely got some weaknesses as well. And I think they've been quite questioning the future of Firpo and how defensively solid he is, although he can be good going forward. And obviously we're in a similar position with Nuno Tavares. So I wanted to ask you, Graham, with the Saka and Firpo situation and the Rafinha and Nuno, who would you say is probably going to get the better out of each battle there? Because I think we could see Rafinha and Saka both playing very, very well. So I wanted to get your thoughts on who you have more confidence in, Saka or Rafinha having a good game at the weekend.
Well, I think that we should have most of the ball. So it's just a case of how we use the ball. So Saka, if we use the ball right, Saka's going to have more opportunity to actually get the better of his man more than Rafinha, who basically is going to be relying either on transition or balls over the top or in counter-attack. So I think, it's Arsenal being the home team, having more of the ball, you think Saka would have more opportunity to actually sort of like impact the game? As long as we obviously get him the ball quickly, of course, and isolate him one-on-one with Firpo. But Rafinha is a quality player, and he's not going to be at Leeds next season. He's going to be battling for higher honours, I think. He'll be leaving Leeds in the summer. But he is real quality. And if Leeds do sort of like are able to win the ball back when we're up high, and we get caught, he can do some serious damage. I think that's why Gabriel and Xhaka have got to be crucial on that left-hand side. Also, Martinelli or Smith Rowe has got to work with Tavares up high to try and close down so they can't get the ball to Rafinha. They've got to try and block. It's all about pressing. When Leeds have got the ball, we've got to be looking to press those wide areas to stop them getting the ball to Rafinha. I mean, last week he was against Man City. He used him more in a wing-back role, to be honest, which I didn't think suited him. I think he's more better higher up. But they've got to get the ball to him, haven't they? And if we are dominating the ball, dominating the play and pressing well, making sure we stop those passes in, they might have to go long, look to go long, and that's where Gabriel and Xhaka really should be covering to sort of like stop him, getting the space where he can do something, and they've got to be accurate with their balls out. So it's all about the way we play, I think. But I think in answer to your question, I mean, the fact that we're at home, we're probably going to have 65% of the ball. You'd like to think that Saka's going to have more chance of being impactful on the game and having more chances to create against their left back than Rafinha against our left back. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Graham. And also with the Martinelli and Smith Rowe situation, I thought Martinelli was really poor against West Ham. Although defensively at times he's better than Smith Rowe, I think, because he's got that tenacity to get back and I think Smith Rowe's always looking to drive forward. I think actually Smith Rowe will be better for this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see it reverted for the North London derby. So we'll have to see what happens then. But of course, I don't want to go too far ahead and look at that game just yet.
I think on Martinelli only one goal in his last 17 games, but I think he didn't have a great game last week. But he did something in the game that I thought that Smith Rowe might not have been able to do. And that was when we got our second goal, obviously from a second phase of play from a corner. It was he was the one who actually saw the opening to put the cross in for Gabriel to head in the winner.
Yes.
So that's something he did. Even when he wasn't playing well, he still had an impact on last week's game. But he has only scored 1 in 17. I think really this Smith Rowe Martinelli argument is something I wanted to talk about today, because I think that one of those players, it's great that he can maybe sort of like switch them around. But I think Smith Rowe has been struggling with a little bit of injury concern lately, so maybe he hasn't been fit for a lot of the games, which might be the reason he's been doing it. But I think ultimately, one player would benefit from a really long run in the team where he's not being chopped and changed. You know what I mean? So I think that really that's a call. I think that interesting which way Arteta goes on that, whether he feels as though he's going to rotate them depending on opposition and just sort of keep them fresh. I don't know. But I think sometimes players like to have a run in the team, and neither of them have had a run in the team lately. Do you disagree with that?
No, I'm with you 100%. And there's two things to this, Graham. Just quickly on Martinelli, I totally agree with what you said about the West Ham game. He was vital for that goal. The other thing is he had a brilliant game at Ellen Road at the Christmas time. I thought Martinelli was fantastic, scored 2 goals and was one of the best players on the pitch. So that could come into play with Mikel Arteta. But I really do think that Eddie is the reason that these two guys can't get in the team. And that, for me, is criminal. Now, I know he's been brilliant in the last couple of games. He scored against Chelsea, was really, really influential against United, and was really good in the second half against West Ham. So I'm not taking anything away from him. But are we really saying that someone who hasn't got a future in Eddie Nketiah is better than seeing Martinelli through the middle and having Smith Rowe, Saka and Ødegaard behind him? I just don't know why Mikel Arteta is so against playing those 4 players. Now, people have said before, but he can't hold the ball up, Martinelli. Well, to be fair, Eddie's only just started to do it against West Ham, because he wasn't doing it against Chelsea and Man United. He wasn't holding the ball up and linking players in. He was just showing a lot of intensity and a lot of pace and power, which, let's be honest, is what Gabriel Martinelli has got. So I'm really surprised that Mikel Arteta hasn't seen that Martinelli could be utilised down the middle. And I just think that potentially, if Eddie was to have a bad game against Leeds, then we might look to do something different in the North London derby with that front 4, and then all of them get their place and running the team, Graham.
Do you know why he does it? He prefers him out wide. Simple as that.
You're right.
And to be honest with you, I think you've got a fair argument. I think that Martinelli, he has used him down the middle before, and it hasn't clicked like it could have done. But for all that, I still think that he can play that role. I do think he can play it, and also we can slightly change the way we play. And there's no, when you think about it, I think Martinelli was perfectly capable of doing in the second half what Eddie did when we stretched them because there's no reason why Martinelli couldn't be sort of like running onto balls either in the channels or down the middle, so I think he can play that role. And I think the thing with Eddie is we've been slightly sort of like sidetracked here by the bigger issue. Eddie's not the future of the club. Eddie is leaving in the summer, and he hadn't scored a league goal up to the Chelsea game. And fair play to him on that night, he took his 2 chances against Chelsea brilliantly, and he did really well in the games against West Ham and Man United in terms of his intensity and his running and what he offered. But he's not a goal scorer. I just don't see him as the future of the club. So when you've got someone who is the future of the club, or you've got two lads who are the future of the club fighting for one position, I think it's a fair point you make. That we know that Martinelli can play down the middle. He's done it in the past. He's scored goals down the middle before. So, albeit the question marks about his hold-up play, but there's no reason why, as you said, Eddie wasn't doing it. He was dropping into midfield quite nicely, I thought, against West Ham. Give him credit for that. But I do think that as Arsenal fans and as a club, if we want to go to that next level, we've got to be maybe sort of like thinking more than Eddie Nketiah as our striker. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. He's an honest lad. And to be honest with you, I do like the way he takes responsibility. He has shots at goal, which Laka wasn't happening earlier in the season. So fair play to him that he's not a lad short of confidence. But I do think that if we are serious about going to the next level, we really do need to sort of like, it's almost like he's a stopgap at the moment. I get that. But we have got an option there, stare us in the face, where we've got Smith Rowe who can play up on the left-hand side, and we've got Martinelli who could play down the middle. And but for some reason, I think all through the summer, even through the season, I think Mikel has seen Laka or Nketiah for that role. And Laka held the role for a long time after Aubameyang left. And Nketiah just came on and replaced him a lot of the time, didn't he? It was almost like a like-for-like sort of tactical switch. And now he's decided to sort of like rest Laka now. He's giving Nketiah his run down the middle. And he doesn't seem to want to play Martinelli there. And I think the reason is, as I said to you, because he likes him out wide left.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people in the chat are agreeing, saying Martinelli wants to play out wide, doesn't want to be a striker, and Arteta doesn't see him as a number 9. Well, I see him as a number 9, but I'm not the coach and I'm not experienced enough to have the expertise. So perhaps he is a left forward. But I certainly don't understand why it's not been tried sooner rather than later. Big up Premsy in the house. Good to see you in the chat, bro. Hope you're well. Another great fan favourite of the show and a good friend. So head over to Premsy TV if you haven't done so already. Graham, I want to read out some of the match stats if I can, mate, in relation to Arsenal and Leeds, because some of these are quite shocking, as ever. You do your research, mate, and I've got a lot of time and respect and admiration for that, because I think it's great what you do. But Arsenal have won 9 of their last 11 games versus Leeds in all competitions, so that must be a good omen. Arsenal have scored 29 goals against Leeds in the last 11 games, including 4 in both of the last 2 Premier League games. So there's always been goals in these games, particularly at the Emirates. In the head-to-head in the Premier League, Arsenal have 50 wins to Leeds 41, and 33 of them have been a draw. Arsenal have now gone 6 league games without a clean sheet, their worst run since April 2021, which to me is quite surprising considering that a lot of praise has been lauded on the defence, albeit we have got a couple of injuries at the moment. Leeds have conceded 72 goals in the Premier League this season, and that's the highest of any club, and also 18 from set pieces, also the highest, an area for Arsenal to exploit. I wanted to talk quickly about that in 2 ways, Graham, not just some of those stats there, but more importantly the set pieces side of things, because for me that has been one thing that, whether you love or hate what's happening on the pitch, I've been so impressed. I mean, like, I don't want to jinx it, but we haven't conceded yet from a set piece this season, and also we're better at taking them. So I think a lot of love has to go to Nicolas Jova from the Man City guy that we got in. His set pieces, pros and positive, like defensively and attacking set pieces. This guy deserves so much credit, Graham, don't he?
Yeah, he's done an absolutely fantastic job. I did the Tactical Insight shows, with James last week, and we highlighted the way that he's improved us. One thing he's done actually is he's improved the way players actually deliver into the box. I've noticed that we are getting more good crosses into the box from set plays and from corners. And like the first goal we scored last week, it was the way that they sort of like targeted West Ham. And I think Leeds again tomorrow, 18 set pieces they conceded from. That'll be an area I think Arsenal will be looking to exploit, as I said to you in the notes, tomorrow, because Leeds are vulnerable, like West Ham were. West Ham were vulnerable last week because they would have noticed that they had a centre-back issue. They had to play Cresswell at left-back. But he weren't just a left-back in the centre and he didn't have the height. But it wasn't just that. It's the way that we actually sort of like attack zones now, the way that players block players, the way that players scream when the crosses come in, and we create space for people to run off people better than any time I can remember being an Arsenal fan. A number of times I've been to games, I just could never see us scoring from corners, because we didn't have that sort of like so well drilled and organised, the way he's got into the players, the way they sort of like attack set plays now. but obviously the delivery has to be right, and the delivery's been better. And then I think the only goal we've conceded from we haven't conceded from a set play or a corner in my knowledge. The only one we did concede was at Southampton from a second phase when we didn't get a corner out. But so he's improved the way that we sort of like mix man for man and zonal marking. He gets players in the right area. Also you've got the right players, the tall players and all that he is very well coached and organised now. So he's come in and done an absolutely fantastic job. So not only are we better defending now set plays, we are better actually attacking set plays, and that's reflected in the numbers this season. And the funny thing, I saw a stat yesterday. We've with the crosses, we've got the highest connection rate, 23% in the league. So with the crosses that we're throwing into the box, you would not associate that with an Arsenal team, would you?
No.
I can remember last season, Arteta talking about we dominated the game, we got loads of crosses in the box, but nothing came from the crosses. This year, we are sort of like looking more threatening from set plays and crosses, and we're connecting with the league high 23% of them. It just shows the fantastic job that Yova's done since he's come in, and fair play to him, and he deserves all the plaudits he's getting. And I like the way that when we score from one of those plays, I don't know if you've noticed in the stadium, I've seen it because I sit right above the area Arteta actually, and the team, his technical staff sit. Whenever they score from a set play, Yova's there celebrating it with him. So he's part of that, and deservedly so.
Yeah, I must admit, it was the Norwich at home game, which takes us right the way back to, I think, the 4th or 5th game of the season. And I said to my dad, who's that keeps standing up every time we're taking a corner or defending a corner? I didn't get it. I thought, who is this guy? And then I did my research and was told, actually, by a couple of people, yeah, we've got him from Man City as our set-piece coach. I think we got the Brentford guy in to start with, but he was then replaced by Nicholas Yova. And I look at that and thought, okay, that's interesting. And then it just got better and better. And I saw it at Leicester away when we scored, Gabriel scored the header and he was going nuts. And I really like that. Because it's something that he's clearly been brought in to do that's proving to have been working evidently on the pitch. And I think that's when you start to appreciate some of the things that have been happening on the pitch, not just off of them, because I've been very, very critical to use the eye test and say things aren't going right. But actually, when you can look at something so specific as that as an improvement, it's always great to see that progress. Graham, I want to kind of wrap up with a score prediction as we always do, and then I'm going to ask you something quickly before we do wrap up. Score prediction for this weekend, mate. I'll let you go first. What are you going for?
Do you know what we've conceded? We've scored something like 8 goals in our last 2 league games against Leeds. Well, I just don't think this is going to be a high-scoring game for all the fact that you think it would be. The fact that Leeds are so defensively poor. I just think that they're going to be more solid tomorrow with a back 5, and I think they're going to be harder to break down. I'm also tempted to go 1-0 Arsenal, but the thing is, we don't keep clean sheets either. We haven't kept a clean sheet for the last 6, have we? And I think that's the worst record now since April 2021 of 6 games without a clean sheet. Ramsdale and the defence don't look for so solid as they did earlier in the season. Albeit I thought the defence last week at Leeds was better. At West Ham was better. We defended better as a unit. So I'm going to go for an Arsenal win in this one. I do think we'll get the job done. I think, though, we will concede because the history tells you that we've been conceding in the last 6 games. So I'm going to go for an Arsenal 2, Leeds 1 scoreline.
Same as Judges and KG, to be fair, said the same. I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal. Again, like you, I think we're going to concede, but I do think there's some goals in this game. Leeds, as we said earlier, have conceded 72, the highest in the league, so there's definitely going to be the potential for us to score some goals, and I think that we will take some of those chances. In the chat, we've got Hans who says 2-0. We've got Hendon Guna that says 1-1. I'm with Jake. Jake's with me, 3-1. Fruitless Gardener has said 2-1. A 3-2 from Terence. So there's a lot of goals from some people, Graham, but I think there's always that kind of, are we going to go on a high-scoring game for the pure fact that Leeds need those points? So in a way, it's going to be good for us because Leeds they can't sit back and just try and keep as many out of the goal for us. They have got to try and go for this game.
Dan, I disagree with you. I think they will sit back, and what they're going to do is, first of all, if they got a point, if you look at they've got 4 games left, they might see albeit they've got 1 less game than Everton, they might see a point at Arsenal as a good result.
Maybe you're right.
I think what they'll try and do is they know that to win the game, they've got to be defensively solid. If they don't defend well, they're going to have no chance in the game. So they're going to have to, and Jesse March is a quite pragmatic sort of like coach who's got a more solid, I think. So I think they
Yeah,
will try and play on the break, and I just think they'll try and use Rafinha's pace in behind on the break. I think they will sit deep, try and frustrate Arsenal. I think if they can get to half time at 0-0, they'll probably feel as though they've got a great chance in the game. The longer it goes where Arsenal scoring, Arsenal coming frustrated, Arsenal might then gaps might open up that they might be able to exploit. So I don't think they will be, albeit they'll want to win if they can get it. But if I think the thing is, if Arsenal play to their ability, move the ball quickly, get their better players on the ball, and start sort of like moving the Leeds players around, there's no reason why we can't create chances. But just remember one thing: Leeds defended really well against a top-class Man City side last week. I know they lost
good
4
point.
nothing. Everyone says, yeah, they lost 4 nothing. But Man
Yeah, but the
City only had
scoreline
5.
didn't suggest that.
No,
Yeah,
no, it wasn't a 4-0 game, was it? And
no.
so I think, and we're not quite Man City yet. So so I do think it will be tough. So but I do hope, obviously, if we can get an early goal, it changes the complexion of it, doesn't it? I think first goal in these games is always key.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Lastly, Graham, I've got to ask you. It's a comment as well that's come up. Dan, thoughts on the big game tonight, Liverpool versus Spurs? Surely Spurs can't go to Anfield and cause an upset, Graham. Or this season, can they? You can't predict the season at the moment, mate. So what's your thoughts on tonight? It's a massive game, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. Actually, I think that Spurs have got, as you know, it doesn't need me to tell you, they've got the weapons to hurt Liverpool in behind. I think Son's pace, on that Trent Alexander-Arnold side could be obviously give them a chance of scoring. But for all that, I think whether Tottenham score or not, I just think defensively they're not very good, and you can't not see Liverpool scoring more goals than Tottenham. It's at Anfield, it's under lights. I just think that they've got too much up front for Spurs, and you know, the only thing that sort of you're slightly guarded for, because we've been in this position before as Arsenal fans. I can remember coming away from an Arsenal game. I forget who we were watching that day, and I was driving back, listening to the Man City Spurs game, thinking, well, that's a banker. Spurs are going to lose to Man City, and then they turned over Man City. So, are they capable of doing that again? Well, they probably are. Any Conte team is capable of being tactically good, and he's got great quality up front, 2 quality forwards, Kane and Song, who basically make an ordinary team look good. So, but for all that, I just think Liverpool have too much from up front. So I just can't see Spurs getting a result there. This is not the Spurs team of a few years ago when Pochettino was in his prime, and they had that great centre-back combination. They had Eriksen in the midfield, and they had Dembele and Kane. It was a better team than this. So I just don't think this Tottenham team is, but they have got 2 great forwards who could hurt Liverpool in behind. So Liverpool will have to be wary of that. But I just think defensively Spurs are not great, and I think Liverpool got too much quality up front not to hurt them. So yeah, in answer to that question, I'm expecting a Liverpool win. It is a pivotal weekend, because if they were to lose tonight, we could turn Leeds over tomorrow. The gap is then 5 points with 3 games left, and then obviously they're under massive pressure then, Spurs, because they have to beat us, and it won't only be table pressure that they're 5 points behind. They've got to manage that game to beat us as well. So I think if the results go the way that I think, and that we do manage to beat Leeds this weekend, and Spurs do lose at Liverpool, 3 games left, 5-point advantage, I think we are really then in a really strong position to nail down that Champions League place. I think that, I'll be very disappointed if we don't get it from there. But, I look at our last few fixtures, Dan. Newcastle away is not going to be easy. I think they'll give Man City a good game this weekend. So, and Newcastle have taken more points, I think, than most teams since January. I think probably only Man City and Liverpool have taken more points than them since January. So they are on a good run. So we've got to go there. That won't be easy. So in a way, I think that we need to win tomorrow, beat Everton, and if Spurs were to turn Liverpool over tomorrow night, I mean, that would be tonight. That would be massive pressure on us tomorrow, wouldn't it? So. But
Oh,
in answer to
well,
your
it
question,
will be.
I've gone on a bit. I just think Liverpool got too much quality, and I think Liverpool will get the job done.
I really hope you're right. I really do. Football never works on paper, does it? But on paper, we should beat Leeds and Liverpool should beat Spurs. So let's hope that is actually what happens, because going 5 points into that North London derby, clear of them, would just be absolutely amazing. And knowing that a win would then secure Champions League spot and they can't get it, that would just be amazing. And
It'd
that
be great,
even
wouldn't
would,
it, if we actually were to secure Champions League qualification on their ground. I
for the
mean,
first time that we've gone there.
yeah, we won 2 league titles on their ground. This would be the next best thing, wouldn't it, to actually secure Champions League
Listen,
on their ground? But
listen,
and they've won. But, yeah, that was to say they've won 2 league titles in their history, and we've won 2 league titles on their ground. So I love making that point. But it wouldn't be
that is
fantastic.
a great point.
If we went there and secured Champions League qualification on their ground, and the players are all in the corner over celebrating, and the celebration police would be all over us again, wouldn't we? Wouldn't they? So it'd be fantastic.
Let them come, man. Let them come. Like, I'm all for celebrating wins. I'm all for celebrating football games, and that one will be sweet to celebrate just because it's against them. So we're not there yet. Let's concentrate on this weekend. Not only, Graham, is this massive for the top 4, but it could be massive for the title race as well. Because if there was a shock to happen, then of course Manchester City, after their disappointing week, will be looking to try and get that Premier League title, which, let's be honest, is what they need now, because they could go a whole season without winning anything if Liverpool was to nick them for that. So unbelievable. Huge weekend, Graham.
Yeah, I'll just say one thing. If Liverpool win the quadruple, I'm going to lose a lot of money if Liverpool win that quadruple. So I'm just desperate for as much as I want, Liverpool to beat Spurs tonight. I'm just desperate for Man City to win that title. Not that I'm a big fan of Man City, but I took a few bets with Liverpool fans that he won't win the quadruple. So if they do put it off, I'm going to be massively out of pocket, mate.
Well, let's hope for your sake that they don't. I don't want them to win it. I will respect them massively, and already do, if I'm honest. I think what they've done, Liverpool, is outstanding. But I don't want them to win it, of course, either. Graham, I absolutely love these shows, man. I can talk to you for hours and hours. I know everybody in the chat absolutely loves it as well. We've had nearly 500 people listening live, which is amazing. So I just absolutely love your content, mate. People need to go and follow Graham on Twitter. I'm amazed you don't have your own channel, Graham. It needs to happen one day, man, because I could listen to you for ages.
It might do. I mean, I'm sort of like, as you know, I've got a job that I enjoy doing, so I wouldn't have the time to do my own channel. You guys, but I know, Dan, you not only with Same Old Arsenal, I can remember me and you worked together on Same Old Arsenal. I know the actual work that you put in on that channel for Craig, and also I know the work you put in for Lee as well, and fantastic what you do. So, but I know it's a lot of work, and I work the sort of hours, sort of sometimes in the week late, that mean I wouldn't be able to do it as much as I would, love to do it. I'm going to retire in the next few years because I'm 60 years old, as you know. So that's the great thing, right? The great thing was, Dan, that I actually 2 things, right? I sort of like, sorry, I'm sort of like going on football.
No, go for it.
But I basically had to pick up a prescription in the week, some antibiotics, and I went to pay for it. She said, "Oh no, you don't have to pay, sir. You're 60." So I didn't have to pay for the antibiotics, and I've got me senior citizens rail card now. I get a third off when I travel. So.
Brilliant.
So there are some blessings that become in this age, but I'd love to be able to do some more work. I do enjoy coming on Lee Judges TV. As you know, I'm on AFTV. People can follow me on Twitter at GrahamB195. I do follow back all Arsenal fans, but maybe it's something I might do in the future, or do more content in the future. But thanks for the nice things you said, and as I say, I always enjoy doing the show with you, Dan, because you're top class, mate.
Oh, mate, thank you very much for the compliments, mate. It means a lot coming from you. Thank you also to everybody else in the chat for watching this. Me and Graham will be back in the next couple of Saturdays as well. We're talking Newcastle and Everton, of course, so we'll look forward to that. And hopefully Arsenal can get 3 points to start off with against Leeds, and we can enjoy a weekend getting further and further away from our North London derby rivals before we play them on next Thursday night, which is absolutely huge. Probably one of the biggest North London derbies we've seen in history. Not even joking, particularly in the Premier League. So let's enjoy that. Graham, thank you very much. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you next time. As always, up the Arsenal, and take care, and hope for 3 points against Leeds. Take care, guys.